I need all my healthcare professionals to clock in on this one.
The time has come to where we have to talk about this topic, and the topic is about CNAs and nurses. There's a beef between CNAs and nurses going on, and I'm trying to figure out why. I can talk about this topic because I've been on both sides of the fence. I was a CNA before I became an LPN and then my RN, so I can kind of understand both parties and why they kind of bumping heads or why.
Okay. This one's gonna be good because RN versus CNA. Wow, the beef. I feel like everybody always wants to find a reason to beef. It's ER versus ICU. It's this versus that. Like, why everybody want to beef? Like, I don't understand. But I, like this gentleman here, have been both. But for my exception, I was a CNA like in a clinic setting when I was like in high school. Um, so I haven't worked in the hospital as a CNA, but I can resonate.
They been bumping heads. But I want to know from y'all perspective, why do y'all feel like there's a nurse and CNA beef? Stitch this video, comment down below, and I want to know everybody else's perspective of why there is a beef and how we can fix it. Because our number one objective at the end of the day is to provide quality care to our patients.
Right.
But yet we still beefing about whose job description is this and what job description is that and who lazy and who don't want to do this and yada yada yada. So y'all stitch this video or comment down below. Let me know why we beefing and let's fix it.
Okay, so a thing that he said, I feel like everybody always wants to call everybody else lazy, like it's a position issue when it's really a people issue. Like, let's be for real. There's categories of people in every workplace where you're just like, oh, you that kind. Oh, you do this. Okay, that's how we doing it. And that's not position dependent. That is people dependent. So you could be a nurse, a CNA, a nurse executive, administrator, anybody can really get it. So the fact that people love to label a whole category as lazy is mind blowing to me because let's be for real, that is not the sweeping experience for most people. I don't experience much laziness from CNAs. Now, when you get to work and you hear so and so's here versus like another person, you kind of have that feeling based off of your experience with working with them, like, dang, I know she's gonna be missing for about an hour around this time, or I know she's gonna be unavailable, or I know she's gonna huff and puff, versus somebody else who's gonna be proactive or whatever. It's just like everybody has different working styles, and that goes with nurses as well as CNAs. So it's really just finding your groove with people and everybody being willing to show up to do their job. That's how I feel. Like, he asked how we can fix it. Everybody needs to show up to do the job that they came here to do, that they were paid for. That's within their scope of practice. Okay. And be willing and open to help the team. So let's see what everybody else has to say.
I'm not the CNA that feels like it's a nurse's responsibility to help me do my job, but
Okay.
and however, it most definitely only applies when we're fully staffed. How exactly are you expecting me to do three people's job at this point? I'm doing your job, I'm doing the second CNA's job that's not here, and I'm trying to do my job. So I gotta toilet all these people, get them all changed, get them all in bed, get 2 showers done, get your vitals, get blood sugars. Immediately no. I fully realize you have your own things to do, which is why I don't expect you to be bending over backwards doing my job when I can do my job. But if I'm the only aide and you can't help me out a little bit and you're still delegating your task to me when I can't even barely do my own job, you've lost it. You've lost it. So get ready for a lot of skin checks because I will be finding every little mark, discoloration, everything. I'm not the CNA.
So, I mean, I hear what he's saying when it comes to staffing, but on the flip side, if they're short on CNAs, likely it's a facility that's willing to be short on nurses as well. So unfortunately, that is a upper management issue. But I get what the young man is saying, and that's where I think we need to all be willing to step in and help. I'm the type of nurse where I don't particularly like to ask CNAs to do anything that I can do. I grew up in the ICU where it was total care. The hospital that I actually started working in the ICU at, we didn't even have CNAs on the floor. So it was like, it's you versus you. Like, it's you, and if another nurse is available to help, boom. But so that kind of created this culture within me to where it's just like, okay, you're prepared and you're trained to do all these things. However, if a facility has CNAs and your job is to do sugars or this and that, like, at certain times, that's what I'm gonna expect. Yeah, I guess I don't really understand where the beef is. I think people are really having a problem with like specific people, and then they're trying to make it a bigger issue at hand. And what I don't want to happen is for new CNAs, new nurses, and new people coming in to look at the other the other position through this perspective, because that's damaging and that can ruin a relationship before it even starts. So we have to really be careful.
Are still finding a way to argue on this app about delegation. And I'm going to post the video up here.
That's a good joke, ain't it?
Ooh. It says when the nurse asks you to do a blood sugar on a patient and they are already going in the room. Okay, interesting. Now the girl in this video is clearly upset, like that's not gonna happen, like blah blah blah. Number one, when people bring attitudes to the table, it already makes things difficult. Number two, we don't even have context for this situation. When the nurse asks you to do a blood sugar on a patient and they are already going in the room, what is the nurse going in the room for? You know, like let's ask these questions, because if it's something emergent, if it's something, you know, there's just different things that could be going on. Like I said, for me personally, if I have the time, because they could be going in the room to do something like that they know is going to be quick because they have something else to get to and they don't have time to add on another task. That is appropriate delegation. So there's just context missing from this, and I think that's important. But if you're just being facetious, if you're just being like, yeah, no, I'm just not doing that, then obviously that's a problem. But when two people are bringing these kind of attitudes to the table, child.
But the comments in this video are either really, really nasty or really, really supportive. Like there seems to be no in between. And someone said, and I quote, this was a great comment. She said, are they not teaching delegation in nursing school no more? Are they not teaching delegation in CNA school? I don't understand why we're arguing over simple delegation tasks. I generally don't get it. I think that if you have respect for the people at your job and you require respect back, then this wouldn't be a problem.
Right. And that's where I don't understand how all this beef comes about. Because there's never when you bring attitudes, that's where it automatically becomes a problem. But when you're respectful to each other and you have a respectful relationship, even if it's the first time you've met, it's just like the way you treat people, the way you talk to people, the way you relate to people matters in the workplace. So if it's just like, girl, I'm really running behind and I need to run in there and do something really quick, do you mind just go ahead and just going ahead, and it's more relatable than, I don't know. How are y'all talking to each other at work? That's another question.
But if a nurse asks a CNA to get a patient water, and I don't care if they just came out of the room, but they're going to deal with a more important problem, it's not a problem just to go get some water. It's completely different from if a nurse says, can you go get that water? And then I just go sit down and I get on my phone. The majority of the time, if a nurse is asking you to do something, if there's mutual respect there, it's a task that is okay to be delegated, because we still have to chart. There's hours sometimes needed for charting. How are we on this app arguing about something so specific that's literally ingrained in us?
No, she has a good point, because nurses also, there's a lot of times people will say, oh, they're just sitting at the desk. There's things that nurses have to do that CNAs just aren't required to do, which is extensive charting, communicating with physicians. I mean, there's just things that y'all can't do that for me, but I'm required to do like the mutual task that I'm able to do for you. It's just not an even balance of responsibility. And if I'm able to handle that, I will do that. Like, I don't mind getting Coke, turkey sandwiches, puddings, waters, and the like. Okay, I don't mind running and grabbing that, even when I'm in the room, and I'll be like, hey, I'll be right back, and I can run and grab it. If I have the time, I have no problem. It's not beneath me. I'm not above it. But delegation is delegation. And she said a very key point: mutual respect. That has to be present in a working relationship.
It's because there's no respect in the workplace.
Right.
What it takes to come alive.
Okay, so she's saying, Okay, so she's saying, I'm the nurse who thinks all nurses should have to work as CNAs before becoming an RN. My CNA experience has made me a better RN, and I stand behind that 100%. Okay. So I see what she's saying. And I think that applies to some people, but not all. I fortunately, like I said, I was a CNA, but not in a hospital setting. Like, does that matter? Some people who haven't been CNAs are great RNs. I just don't think this is a sweeping truth, something that I can stand by 100%, because I'll be honest with you. If you are a CNA who doesn't take their job seriously or is quote unquote lazy or likes to do the bare minimum, you are going to take that into your nursing career. And you're going to be the nurse who likes to do the bare minimum, doesn't want to help. And that's what's crazy, because it's like this whole beef, these CNAs who were upset about nurses asking them to do stuff. Let them go into nursing school and become RNs. They would most likely be the nurses who ask their CNAs to do their job. You know, like, it's just crazy how we think that one position is going to make you a different person. It's a people issue. I keep trying to tell y'all. So whoever you are as a CNA, that's just like how they say, that's just like what they say with money. So I hear what she's saying. It kind of gives you a different perspective on the job. It gives you a perspective on the working relationship between the two, nurses and CNAs. However, I just don't think that's a solution to the problem or to the beef that we are experiencing. Well, not we. Let me say y'all, because I'm not experiencing beef between CNAs. I don't have that problem.
If I had $1 for every time I've heard someone say, oh, I can definitely tell who's been a CNA before they were a nurse, I wouldn't have a full-time job. If you're in nursing school, should you work as a CNA? Let's talk about it. I want to start this off by saying that I was a float PCT/CNA for 4 years all throughout nursing school. I know plenty of nurses that had zero bedside experience before they became nurses, and they're great nurses.
Right.
However, if it's feasible both financially and time-wise for you to become a CNA, I think that it's a really good idea if you're going to become a nurse. Okay. I'm just going to rapid fire rattle off some reasons why it's probably a good idea. If you work as a CNA, nursing clinicals are going to be a breeze. Working as a CNA is going to teach you prioritization and time management skills so good that when you become a nurse, it's going to be second nature already. Time management is arguably one of the hardest things for new grad nurses to learn, so you're already ahead of the game in that way. When you have prior patient care exposure, you are not afraid to talk to patients. You can jump right in, get a set of vitals, touch the patient, and it's not going to be weird and not going to be awkward.
I agree with that. I agree. I think being a CNA before being a nurse does make you more comfortable with patient care. So I would agree with that. I think that is valuable. But then that's also going to come down to personality differences as well, because even if you've been a CNA and you've only worked in a certain capacity and you become an RN, you might still be nervous because you're doing a bigger job. You're doing a different job that has, I guess, a little bit more weight. And that might make you nervous. So if you have a nervous personality, maybe that previous experience with working with patients may not be as helpful, but it all depends. I do think she has a good point, though.
Right in, get a set of vitals, touch the patient, and it's not going to be weird and not going to be awkward. Bedside manner truly is kind of an art form, and you have to learn small talk, you have to learn chit chat, you have to learn how to be in someone's space without it being weird, and that is something that you're going to learn very heavily as a PCT, and you are going to be a better nurse for that. As a CNA, you're also going to learn how to speak to other members of the care team, including the family members. Depending upon where you work, you're also going to learn different skills like doing EKGs, checking blood sugars, etc. If you strip nursing down to its skeleton, the foundation of nursing is patient care. CNAs are the backbone of patient care. You're going to become so good at patient care. It sounds so trivial, but you're going to know how to give the meanest bed bath, how to change a bed perfectly, transferring patients in and out of bed. You'll also become very comfortable with the flow of the hospital and understanding how that system works. Really, the only downside that I can come up with as to why someone might not want to become a CNA during nursing school is just that adds on extra years that you've been at the bedside, and that could potentially lead to burnout. Yeah. But other than that, I think it's a great idea. If working as a CNA or a PCT is not something that's available to you, I don't want you to worry, because it's not necessarily necessary. But any kind of experience at the bedside before becoming a nurse is going to be a good experience. If you have any questions about anything, leave them in the...
I agree with what she was saying. I don't think she said anything wrong. That burnout piece that she mentioned is very accurate. I mean, that's something that you really have to be careful with. CNA work is no joke. Like, I respect CNAs because they do a big job, And it is a lot of work. And so if that's something, if you can handle that and go to school and do all this, you're a super person. You are a superhero, and you deserve all the stars, all the badges, all the Daisy Awards, because child, that's a lot. It's a lot. Anyways, we got to get our act together because it's already hard out here. The challenges that we face in healthcare are enough on their own for us to be worrying about so-and-so and so-and-so and what they said they can and cannot do. Like, let's be for real. Let's get it together, y'all. So what I want to know from my fellow healthcare providers, what do you guys think about this CNA versus RNB? Do you think like we should all just get along? Or do you think we really need to stand on business? I also want to know, do you think being a CNA first would make you a better RN, or does it not even matter? Let me know. Let's get the conversation started down below. If you haven't already, like this video and subscribe to see more content just like this. Thanks again for rocking with me, Rocky, and I'll see you guys in the next one.